Welcome back to this video tutorials, Python Essential 1. This is a continuation of the three parts of the module 2. So here we're going to be looking at interaction with user. Interaction with user simply talks about how you can get an input from a user. How do you get data from a user through the console? Basically what we've been doing since we've been printing something out on the console, but now we're going to get data from the console. So how are you going to do that in Python? That's what we're going to be looking at. Let's get straight into it. So let me go ahead and open the VS Code. So let me clean this up. So if you want to get data from a user, you use what we call the input function. This is the function. This is a built-in function, right? So it's reusable. It's called a built-in function input. So this is a function you basically use whenever you want to get data from a user, right? So you can set a variable called, let me say, username, right? User underscore name, and you set this equals to inputs, which means you want to get an input from the user. So if you want to do this, you can just write something in it like, what is your username? Like, you can leave this empty anyway, but that won't make any sense. Trust me, because someone might not know you want to get something from them. So what is your username? So you're just gonna go ahead and put a question mark there. So at the end, I'm gonna go ahead and print that username that the user is gonna write. I'll say, so I'll just print in quotation, sorry, print your username is, it's gonna be your username, right? Your username is username, right? Okay, so your username is your username, so that's what I want to go ahead and print out on the console. Okay, I need to concatenate that, sorry. So your username is your username. We've talked about concatenation. You want to join two different things together, you use this plus sign. It's used for concatenating. So let me just go ahead and run these on the console. You just let me clear this screen so everything looks brand new. So I'm just going to go ahead and run these on the console. You just pay attention to what is happening here. So when we run these on the console, it asks what is your username. So if I say my username is let me say Joseph01, right? It says that your username is Joseph01. So this is basically how you get data from a user, right? So this input function is going to come in handy when you work, in projects whereby you need to get data from users. So that's basically it about that. So outside of this is just getting a string, right? So what if you want to get a number, like an integer, like numerical values? So by default, when you use the input, it takes it as a string. So if you want to get an integer from a user, you're going to handle it differently. Let me just give you an example. You're going to face an error if you do this. They say, what is your username? It's expecting you to put a string and you put 33, right? It's going to say your username is 33 because already it is looking at this as a string. So if you want to test this, you can go ahead and say plus, right? Let me do this. Username, your username plus 22. This will not work, right? Because these are two different data types. Let me run this so you see what we are saying. So if you say your username is 22, it's going to give you, it say can only concatenate strings. So because these are two data types, right, already here you specify that you're working with strings. So if you want to use integer, you're going to do it differently, right? So input, you specify that this is going to be an integer, right? Input, int input, sorry. So you say integer, right? Then you're having your input. So already you've now changed this to be an integer. Same way you can do with floats. Let me go ahead and copy that and say this is I'm still going to leave the variable, so you see that when we put numbers now, it's going to handle it differently. Let me just go ahead and comment that out. So your username, what is your username? Username plus 22. So let's go ahead and run this and see. We're not going to get any error this time. Any number we put is going to add it up. So let me say my username is 22. Let me say my username is 22. It's going to give me 44. So as you can see, it says 44. Username plus 22 gives us 44. So this is basically it. If you want to, okay, sorry, I mistakenly pressed something. So if you want to do some mathematical operations and you're trying to get data from a user, you just have to use the int input, right? So if you want to float it, like floats, if you want to float it, you're going to use float, right? So if you put a float here, there's going to be an issue because this is an integer. Let's test that. Everything is all about testing. So let's just go ahead and run these on the screen. So if you put 22.4.1, it's going to complain because this is an integer, not a float. So if you want to be able to do that, so you're going to use a float input. So the kind of data type you specify here, it must tally with whatsoever the user is going to impute for you. So when you're working in let me say web development, there are ways you handle this error whereby you can say something to the user like don't put integer, it is a float, right? So as you can see, this impute 44.1. so that's just basically it, how you work with integers, floats, using what an impute function. So this is just it. So we'll just move further to what's next. Let me bring up the slide and see what we're looking at next. So we'll talk about string operators. Yeah, it is possible to use mathematical operators with string, but there is a but here. You cannot be adding, dividing, multiplying a string. This won't work. Just be logical. This is me talking. So basically what we are trying to say is that whenever you're working with strings, right, you can do a little bit of mathematical operations, but don't be thinking like 7 divided by 4. You can now say Joseph divided by 2. That's really not logical, right? So you think before you write any line of code. So let me just go ahead and clear the screen. So I can say, okay, my name is set name, it's equals to Joseph, right? Trust me, you don't need parentheses whenever you're setting a variable name. You don't need it. You can put it, it's your choice. But whenever you're using the print function, you can't do without the parentheses. So I can say print, let me say just name, sorry, because name is already Joseph. So print name times 3. So this should work because all we are saying is that we want name to be printed 3 times. But you can't be saying name plus 3. That does not sound well. Let's copy this code and paste it. Remember when we talk about interpretation and compilation, we say that when you are working with interpretation, it treats the code line by line. So this first one we say plus, so it's going to output the first one, then we'll see the error in the second one, This is how interpretation works. We've talked about this in the module 1, if you remember vividly, when we're differentiating between interpreters and compilers. So print Joseph times 3. So as you can see here, it's print Joseph times 3 first. So this is interpretation. It first runs these lines of code. So name times 3, that means Joseph times 3. But it can't be doing Joseph plus 3, right? That's not logical. So it's giving us errors. It can only concatenate string. So this is basically what you can do. You can't be doing Joseph minus 3. That's not logical. So this is basically string operators. So let's just go straight into the next content in our slide. I don't know what it is. Okay, we're going to be looking at more on operators. The equal to sign, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater and equal to. These are just things you've done in mathematics. You just have to learn how it is done in Python. So we have name is equals to Joseph, right? Print name. Okay. So let me start with the equal to. Now the equal to means it's something, right? Like it's a value the same as whatsoever you're setting. Okay, for example, I can ask name equal print name equal to. I think we've done this before, so I'll just go ahead and say print name equal to, in quote, Joseph, right? Joseph. This is going to be true, right? This is going to be true because name is actually equal to Joseph, right? Then let me go ahead and copy that and make a little bit of typo error. Print name is equal to Joseph without the H. So I'll get through one and I'm going to get false in the second one. So let me just go ahead and run that. So if you look at this, the first one gives true because name is actually equal to Joseph, and the second one will be false because name is not equal to Joseph. So this is basically the equal to operators, right? To check if something is actually equal to something. So if you want to talk about it not equal to, if I say that name is not equal to Joseph, this will hold false. This first one will hold false because name is actually equal to Joseph. So let me just go ahead and run that. If I run that on the console, you see that we're going to get false. So you see false because name is actually equal to Joseph, but you are saying name is not equal to Joseph. So let's go further to, let me go ahead and clear this. Greater than, less than. For example, let me say we have num1, which is a variable. We just say num1 is equal to, let me say 22, and we have num2 is equal to, let me say 44. So you can check, you can just print this out on the console and say print, let me say num1, which is 22, you say greater than, let me say num2, right? You say greater than num2. So is num1 actually greater than num2? Let's see if this holds true. So just go ahead and run this. You can, just test all this to see how it works. Let me go ahead and cancel that. So they say false because num1 is not actually greater than 2. 22 is not greater than 44, right? So if you want to check if something is equal to, let me see 22, right? Is it greater or equal to? Is it greater or equal to 22? What do you think the answer is? Let's see. This should hold true, right? It is not greater, but it is still equal to. So it is not greater, but it is still equal to. So you see, this holds true. This holds true. This holds true. So this is just basically, you can just check all the operators less than equal to, greater than equal to, and do comparison of numbers and all of that and values. So this will come in handy whenever you are working in projects and all of that. So I think that's that for this. Let's just go straight into what's next on our presentation. So there's what we call conditional statements in Python. This is going to be our last tutorial. So this is going to be our last tutorial. For this, we're going to be looking at conditional statements. So conditional statement allows the execution of a line or block of code on the basis that something holds true or false, right? We've been looking at, okay, A is num1, equal to num2 and all of that. So if that is actually true, what do you want to happen, right? So these are conditional statements. So computers only understand true or false question, not statement like maybe or maybe not, which I've said this before. So we'll just go ahead and, the if else statement is what we're going to be making use of. So let me just go ahead and clear the screen. Let me clear the screen. So we're going to be doing a little bit of hard code here today. Right now, this ending part is going to get a little bit of interesting. So let's do something. Let's have a variable, right, called go to school. Go to school. So we're writing a little bit of program here. This last part is going to be straight. So go to school, let's say walking 100 miles. So let's say you walk 100 miles to school, right? Okay. So this is just the last. We're going to be writing a simple program. We're going to be writing a simple program using if else statement. So go to school, then go back to school, because when you go to school, you're definitely going back to school. So this is going to be another variable. So we're going to set it equal to walking 100 miles back to school. So this just say you're walking 100 miles back to school. So this is going to be the best program you're going to write for this section. So walking 100 miles to school, walking 100 miles back to school, right? So we're going to have another variable called not yet time, right? For example, what if it's not yet time for you to go to school? Not yet time. Not yet time. I'm going to set that equal to you just say not yet time for school. Not yet time for school. So this is just to get you just to get your interest high, programming in Swift and all of that. So what we basically want to do here, we want to check if it's time for school, right? We want to print it out on the console that it is time for school. Let the user walk 100 miles to school. But if it's not time for school, then we'll say it's not yet time for school, right? So, and if the time is, let me say, 8 o'clock, it means it is time for you to go to school. If it's 3 p.m., it is time for you to go back home, right? So let's do this. We're going to be importing something, date and time, because here we're going to be working with time. So basically from date time, import date time. So we're going to be importing date time from date time because we're going to make use of it. So these are modules. These are modules in Python that you're going to be making use of. Don't bother yourself about that from now. So conditional statement, right? So the issue is that what is going to be our school start time? So we need the time of the school and the time that we have to come back home. School starts. So what time does your school start? School starts underscore time. We set that equal to date time dot now, not now. If you say date time dot now, it means it's the current time, and it's not the current time. We have a specific time, so we just we use the strip time, so we can specify. So we want it to be 8 o'clock in the morning, or whatsoever your time starts, 8 o'clock on a dot, right? 8 o'clock on a dot, and we want it to be, that means it is in hour and minutes. So we specify that. We use the percentage sign here. We specify hour. So that's it. So we say it's in hour and minutes. So let me use comment here to say, okay, 8 a.m. right? 8 a.m. So let me just go ahead and copy and paste that. Right, so for here we're going to be let me say 15 o'clock, because 15 should be 3 p.m. Yeah, 15, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, that's 15. 15 should be 3 p.m. So this is p.m. So this is going to be school end time, not school start time. So this is going to be school end time. So this is school end time. So we have the school start time, which is 8 a.m. and the school end time, which is 3 p.m. So we're going to have a conditional statement. So school school start time, right, is equal to date time dot now, right? So if school end time, if school start time, sorry, this should be start time. So if school start time is equal to date time dot now, if school start time is equal to date time dot now, what should we do? We want to print go to school, right? So if that doesn't happen, what is the else? Else we'll say that want to print not yet time, right? Not yet time. So basically what we are doing here, I'm going to rewrite this program. We're going to have two else statements here. I just want to rewrite this. So if school end time, if school end time is equal to the, then you go no, it's going to be go back home, trust me. So this will be go back home, else not yet time, right? It should be not yet time. Let me just put not yet time, doesn't matter. So let me just clear this console and run this so you see what is even happening. Let me go ahead and print this. So this is basically a simple program. So as you can see here, we're going to have not yet time, not yet time. So what we are saying here is that we are saying that we want to have a program that checks if the time is actually 8 o'clock in the morning, then the user should have this message called walking 100 miles to school, right? Else we'll tell the user it's not yet time. We check again if school time dot now, the end of the time, which is 3 p.m., is equal to date dot time dot now, then we tell the user to go back home. So if we want to see this really work in action, then we need to set date dot time dot now to a specific value, right? Let's do it this way. So let's just look at it logically this way. Let's just look at it this way. I'm coming. All right. So this program of ours. So if you see that the school start time is equal to date dot time now. So if you want to see that this actually work, I will go ahead and kind of define another variable. I'm just gonna mess around with the time. Let me say, okay, configured underscore time. So this is the time I'm going to configure myself. I'm going to set it equal to date. I'm going to set it equal to date dot time dot strip strip time, right? So I'm going to set this to 8 o'clock, right? I want to say that it's already 8 o'clock, right? So I just want to mess around with the time. So let me just go ahead and just copy and paste this instead of rewriting it. So configure time. All right. So let me go ahead and save that. So instead of setting this if statement to date.time.now, since we don't know what time it is, but I'm going to change this to the time that I've specified. So before doing this, let me rerun this program so you see. Let me rerun this program. So when I run this program, it's going to show that it's not yet time, right? It's not yet time for school, right? So not yet time. So if I change this to 8 o'clock, because we say if school start time, the school start time is 8 o'clock. So if it's equal to the same time, right? So it's going to tell us that go to school, walking 100 miles to school, right? It's time for school, and so on. So let's just go ahead and copy this, and replace it with this. So let me save it. So let me just run it again. So as you can see, it's walking 100 miles to school. So that's just basically a simple program that we've written. This is just simple program, and I will just give a summary of what we've done here. So we just defined some variables, go to school, which checks if the school time is actually 8 o'clock, which we've specified here to set a school time to 8 o'clock. And if the time is actually 8 o'clock, it's going to print out that we should be walking 100 miles to school. And you can, just mess around with this. You can, define another variable for, let me say, 3 o'clock. You understand? So you can define another variable for 3 o'clock and just put it right here. And just instead of this date.time.now, you can just do that just the same way I've done for this go to school. So that's just basically a simple program. So if you like this, just like this channel, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.